All frucked up, day 67 on the sugar diet, or more specifically, the starch diet in my case. Yeah, I always start these and I don't really have an agenda or talking points even. It's just purely stream of consciousness. So for this one, top of mind is the idea that we get to do things. It was in the early days of COVID, like March of 2020, that I jumped on Instagram. I had an active account at the time. And it was on my morning commute, and I was just struck by this thought because everybody's talking about you have to do this, you have to do that. It was in the context of all the different mandates, right, during COVID. But like viewing that through the lens of self-improvement, personal fitness goals, etc., I just pulled over to the side of the road. I had this little diesel Jetta at the time. It since was hit head on, and I survived, but the car did not. But I pulled over to the side of the road, and I just made a short post on Instagram. It was basically saying, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Pay taxes and die. That's all you got to do. But you get to do anything else that you choose. So, and it's pretty wild. That wasn't an original thought, I'm sure. But since then, I've heard so many different speakers, presenters, motivational and mentoring coaches talk about you get to do things. And it's like, wow. So, yeah. Back to Raymond Charles Barker's book, The Power of Decision, where he talks about this universal intelligence. Maybe we're all tapped into that. But we get to do things. As long as we're waking up, like even if, so like an example would be my dad. So he had extreme sarcopenia at the end of his life, which is like muscle wasting, to put it rather crudely, but that's essentially it. I think it's called cachexia if you're like undergoing cancer treatments. I don't know why they differentiate the two, but whatever. My point is, like even my dad at the end, he still had some mobility, and I encouraged him to, even if he was sitting in his armchair watching TV, which he did a lot of, like get a couple of soup cans, right? And sit there and do biceps curls, just something, anything to preserve muscle mass. So unless we're struck by some extreme health issue, and I know there's a lot that can happen in the human experience, right? So I'm trying not to be myopic. I'm trying not to, make some broad sweeping statement that excludes a bunch of people for whatever variety of reasons. But to the extent that we're still living and thinking beings, then anything that we can do to improve our situation, even in like the darkest hours with the worst prognosis or the worst physical conditions, I still think it's so important to, preserve that mindset of like, okay, this was the hand that I was dealt. And, it seems like the situation might be not able to be improved. For instance, a military veteran loses the use of his legs, or might have in an extreme case, completely lost his legs. And this is just one example. There could be, a million permutations of what might limit us physically. But to the extent that we're still alive, we should at least approach the day that if we can't improve our physical health, then we can still safeguard our mental health. And I think that's so important, what we feed our minds. And, when it comes to like spiritual things, metaphysical things, there might not even be any proof out there in objective reality for whatever this belief is, whatever it is that you're holding in your mind. But if you find encouragement from it, if it brightens your day, if it makes your experience of living more positive, more pleasing, then I would encourage you to do that. Like go down that road, climb way the fuck out on that metaphysical branch, if that's what suits you. So yeah, I mean, it just comes down to like squeezing all the juice out of life that we can, to the extent that it's possible with whatever chronic condition or physical ailment that we may have. So yeah, I mean, the idea of we get to roll out of bed and it's like, well, I've got another day on planet Earth. Regardless of what shape you think planet Earth is, it could be, you know, I know there's been a lot of people that have talked to me about flat Earth. I don't mean to laugh. And my response is like, I don't know, maybe it's shaped like a donut. Just because that's the way I'm wired. But I just like to play around and joke and tease a little bit. So, but in any case, the idea of we get to, whatever our situation is, we get to have that experience of living. And, you know, I can't speak about all possible outcomes that people will have in their lives. But to the extent that we can maintain a positive frame of mind and feed our mind empowering thoughts, empowering content, whether it's, you know, speeches or quotes, and, you know, whether it's Stoic philosophy or whether it's something spiritual, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to improve your situation mentally, physically. Bruce Lipton's got me thinking about energetically. He talks about physical health, mental health, and energetic health, and gets into some cellular biology that's fairly interesting about like potassium and sodium and how they, you know, I wouldn't do it justice if I tried to explain further, but he's basically talking about the cells of our body operate in a lot of ways like a battery. So, yeah, I'm in over my head trying to talk about Dr. Bruce Lipton's The Biology of Belief, but it's a fantastic book. So, yeah, that's where my stream of consciousness went this evening. And in case I failed to mention it, this is the video for July the 10th, 2025. Hope everyone had a great day. See ya.